Welcome back to Celebrial, where we dig into the stories Hollywood hopes never see daylight. Snoop Dogg's carefully built legacy, the family man image, the loyal husband, the hip-hop patriarch, is being shaken by a claim so explosive it could flip everything people think they know about his household.
She stepped up as my wife and handled that. And there's been many times where I've been at my lowest, and she's always been the strongest to get me back up to get back out there. You gotta get back out there and do what you do. Don't worry about what's happening over here. I'm gonna handle that.
Sources close to Snoop are alleging he received DNA results showing that none of the 4 kids he raised with Shante, Corday, Cordell, Corey, and Julian are biologically his. This isn't light gossip. Insiders say this could trigger a major legal storm, with Snoop reportedly preparing to file for divorce and finally reveal the truth, even if it turns his entire world upside down. For nearly 30 years, the Broaddus family has been treated like hip-hop royalty, a rare example of love surviving fame, pressure, and chaos. But behind that picture-perfect image, something very different may have been unfolding. Insiders say things were never as picture-perfect as they looked.
You want to establish yourself as a businessman. That I wasn't taught on Death Row Records. All my cars was in Suge Knight name.
Cracks were showing long before any DNA test entered the conversation. While Snoop pushed the image of a loyal husband, whispers of infidelity followed him back to the late 90s. In 1998, just a year after marrying Shante, he fathered a son, Julian, with another woman. A betrayal people close to them say never truly healed. From there, the power dynamic reportedly shifted. Shante wasn't just the wife who stayed, she became the one who controlled the finances, the household, and eventually the business.
The turmoil and the stuff that I put her through in my journey on becoming successful, because I had no understanding of what I was doing her, how I was hurting her.
And that control only deepened when she officially became Snoop's manager in 2021, overseeing everything from brand deals to his Death Row Records acquisition. What once looked like partnership is now being described by insiders as leverage, not love. And according to people in his circle, that buried tension finally resurfaced earlier this year, right after Suge Knight re-entered the conversation from prison. Many people brushed off Suge Knight's wild talk at first. Back in February 2024, he posted on X claiming Shante had been spotted taking private trips to Hawaii with another man. At the time, Snoop's reps dismissed it as bitter noise from an old rival trying to stir drama. But now, with alleged DNA results quietly circulating among attorneys, that post feels different, almost like a warning people ignored too fast. Some insiders are even questioning whether that message was the first public crack in a much deeper situation. Meanwhile, Shante's power has only continued to grow. She runs Boss Lady Entertainment, manages multiple music and film projects, and co-created the Broaddus collection, inspired by their daughter Corey's health journey.
You know, people see the Snoop Dogg that's polished up and shined up, but they didn't see the one that was a rock, that he's seen the diamond in me.
Her influence inside the Broaddus empire is undeniable. For years, she's been seen as the backbone of Snoop's entire world, the glue holding the household and the business together. But fans have noticed a shift in Snoop's energy over the past few months, especially during public appearances. In an NBC interview last fall, he called Shante the good to my bad, yet people close to him now describe someone who feels blindsided, hurt, and quietly embarrassed by what he believes may have been happening behind his back. And if these DNA results turn out to be real, and so far no one from Snoop's official team has denied their existence, this situation goes far beyond celebrity gossip. It becomes a legal, emotional, and reputational earthquake that could change everything people thought they knew about one of hip-hop's most protected families. This touches inheritance questions, ownership concerns, and the future of an entire multi-million-dollar empire built piece by piece over decades. Each of Snoop's children has publicly played a role in expanding the Broaddus brand. Cord stepped into music following in his father's footsteps. Cordell moved into filmmaking and entrepreneurship. Corey carved out her own lane in music and beauty. Julian, the most private of them all, quietly built a path in tech. If it turns out that none of them are biologically his, every partnership, endorsement, and brand deal built around the image of the Broaddus family could be pulled back under legal review. Trusts, royalties, ownership structures, even succession plans would suddenly be questioned. What once looked like a unified family empire could turn into a legal maze overnight. But the most painful twist in all of this isn't money, it's identity. Snoop built a huge part of who he is around being a father figure. He's always said he wanted to represent a different kind of masculinity in hip-hop, one rooted in love, guidance, and accountability. In a 2015 interview, he talked about his bond with his kids as something deeper than authority, calling it a friendship shaped by respect and honesty. Now, those same words carry a heavy, almost haunting weight. Insiders say the revelation hit him hard, with one source describing his state as controlled rage, the kind that simmers quietly and doesn't cool off easily. Word is, Snoop has been meeting discreetly with legal teams in Los Angeles since late summer, preparing for a confrontation with Shantae, not just as a wife, but potentially as a business opponent. At the same time, Suge Knight's recent accusations have reopened old shadows from Snoop's past. Knight, who played a major role in launching Snoop's career during the death row era, has been dropping hints from prison through his podcast, suggesting that Snoop's own secrets are finally catching up to him. To some, it sounds like bitter provocation. To others, it feels like someone circling back into the story at the exact moment things start to unravel. The timing of Suge's hints has people raising eyebrows. In one segment, he suggested family betrayals were about to surface, tying them to unresolved money issues linked to Snoop's 2023 purchase of Death Row Records. At the time, it sounded like random prison talk. Now it feels more like a coded warning, as if Suge knew something before the rest of the world caught on. Their history makes it even heavier. Snoop and Suge went from mentor and artist to bitter rivals in the mid-90s, surrounded by lawsuits, threats, and nonstop drama. So when Snoop publicly forgave Suge in 2018 and later bought Death Row, fans saw it as closure. But with these new personal revelations, that forgiveness may have reopened old wounds and sparked a new battle over power, money, and legacy. Industry insiders point out one major risk. Snoop's empire is deeply tied to Shanti's management company, with several deals listing her as co-executive. If a divorce turns hostile, assets could be frozen overnight, putting everything on pause. Add Suge's renewed accusations and the quiet tension building behind the scenes. And this situation is starting to look less like gossip and more like a storm that's just getting started. Talk about old legal cases being reopened, and suddenly this doesn't look like a family issue anymore. It looks like the start of a full-scale corporate collapse. Snoop has faced courtrooms before, but insiders say this hits harder than anything in his past, because this time, the threat is coming from inside his own home. If the DNA results are real, one massive question hangs in the air. Who are the biological fathers of the Broaddus children, and how long has this been hidden? Sources whisper different theories, some tied to the industry, others linked to Shantae's business circle, but no names are confirmed. What is clear is this: Snoop quietly moving out of the family mansion, the sudden lockdown around his inner circle, and the silence from his camp all point to a storm already breaking behind closed doors. For a man built on loyalty and family, this cut goes deeper than any feud ever could. This situation is way bigger than most people realize, because here's the part nobody's really saying out loud yet. This isn't just a divorce, it's a full-scale power shift, almost like a corporate takeover happening inside Snoop's own household. And everything points to Snoop stepping into battle mode. He didn't become a global icon by backing down, and people around him say he's moving with precision this time. He's not just fighting for a marriage, he's fighting for his name, his legacy, and the identity he spent decades building. If those DNA results are real, then this cuts far deeper than personal betrayal. It challenges the entire image of loyalty, growth, and family that defined his evolution in hip-hop. Insiders say his legal team is preparing an aggressive strategy, arguing that if the truth was hidden for years, this could cross into financial fraud, not just emotional damage. Shantae didn't just manage the household. She managed contracts, endorsements, licensing deals, and major business moves. And if misrepresentation played a role in any of that, the fallout could be enormous. With an empire worth hundreds of millions on the line, this may become one of the most explosive legal battles hip-hop has ever seen. If things don't go his way, Shantae could walk off with half of everything, including pieces of his music catalog, and even death row assets. And behind all the numbers, the real issue is control. As his manager, Shantae had authority over his image, schedule, branding, and every major deal he signed. That power became official in 2021, locking her in as the executive force behind the broadest name. Now, insiders say that entire setup may be under serious review. If a court believes her position was used to hide personal truths or influence assets unfairly, every contract she touched could be reopened. That means audits, frozen deals, and years of financial records pulled apart, line by line. And then the story takes an even stranger turn. In early 2025, Snoop's daughter Corey gave birth prematurely at just 25 weeks after severe health complications. Publicly, the family framed it as a moment of unity and strength. But people close to the situation say it may have also shifted attention away from the growing rift behind the scenes. Around the same time, Snoop quietly removed several family photos from his social media, while Shantae began appearing alone at events, small moves that raised big questions for those watching closely. Nobody connected the dots back then, but now it's hard to ignore the pattern. Family tension may have already hit a breaking point long before the rumors surfaced. Adding fuel to the fire, Suge Knight, once Snoop's mentor, later his rival, kept dropping cryptic messages from prison. In February 2024, he claimed Shantae was taking private trips with another man. Most dismissed it as noise, but Suge later doubled down, hinting that Snoop's rise was shaped behind the scenes. According to him, Shantae wasn't just supportive. She was a strategist, positioned at the center of every business decision, controlling what reached the public and what never did. If even part of that is true, this isn't just a divorce. It could unravel one of hip-hop's most carefully crafted images. The questions are stacking up fast. How long was the truth allegedly known? Who else knew? And how deep does this really go now that everything's being re-examined? Some people in the industry say this all comes down to reputation control. For years, Shantae built her public image as the loyal partner, the woman who forgave, rebuilt, and guided Snoop towards stability. Without that storyline, her brand loses its foundation. So keeping the family image intact may not have been just about marriage. It may have been about protecting an empire she helped build. As this unfolds, those close to Snoop say the emotional toll is obvious. He's pulling back, quieter than usual, even as his name trends nonstop. He's faced lawsuits, beef, and scandals before. But insiders say this hits different. One source put it bluntly, he's not angry, he's hurt. He trusted her with everything, even his name. And that kind of betrayal cuts deep for someone whose image is built on calm control. Now the cracks are showing, and old shadows are creeping back in. Suge Knight's podcast has resurfaced long-buried claims from the death row era, hinting at unseen strings, favors, and deals tied to Snoop's early rise. None of it is confirmed, but the timing feels pointed. Almost every episode drops right as Snoop faces new pressure, like weakness being sensed. For the first time in years, the man once seen as untouchable looks boxed in from every direction. Legal threats are stacking up, old alliances are shifting, and people who've stood beside him for decades say this is the hardest test of Snoop's entire identity. The calm, peace-first figure, who always preached elevation over destruction, is now preparing for the most serious fight of his life. Behind closed doors, his legal team is reportedly going line by line through everything. Early contracts, shared assets, management decisions, even production rights tied to his earliest records. The goal is clear: separate his name, his legacy, and his empire before the courts can bundle it all into one financial reality. But doing that could mean opening doors that have stayed shut for decades, private messages, confidential agreements, and decisions that may pull other powerful names into the spotlight. And even before a single filing becomes public, the cultural shock is already hitting. Fans who watched Snoop evolve from a street-connected rapper into a global symbol of growth and family are struggling to process this turn. The same man who spoke proudly about loyalty and home life may now be facing the idea that the image itself was carefully constructed. Some believe he was misled, caught in a situation he never saw coming. Others quietly wonder if he helped maintain the illusion by choosing silence for too long. And that's the real danger here, because if the foundation of Snoop Dogg's public image starts to crack, it doesn't just change one marriage. It forces people to rethink the legacy itself. Then every award, every father figure moment, every inspirational message suddenly hits different. And we can't pretend this is happening in a vacuum. The timing lines up with a much larger reckoning sweeping through the entertainment industry. Powerful figures once thought untouchable are now facing investigations, lawsuits, and long-buried scandals being dragged back into the light. Snoop, long seen as the rare legend who avoided collapse through humor and sharp instincts, now finds himself caught in that same tidal wave. The pressure is real. The questions are stacking up, and the industry is watching closely. Hip-hop is already shaken by betrayals, lawsuits, and broken alliances, and this situation has everyone paying attention. Insiders say the next phase is coming fast. Shantae, who still hasn't made a public statement, is reportedly assembling her own legal team. People close to her claim she's ready to fight, arguing that she helped build the broadest empire side by side with Snoop, and deserves full recognition and serious compensation. If it goes that way, this won't be a quiet split. It could become one of the most explosive and closely watched celebrity divorces the industry has seen in years. And if it reaches that level, this won't just be a private breakup. This could turn into a full courtroom saga, dragging decades of history into the open. Former label executives, longtime family associates, and even figures from Snoop's past, like Suge Knight, could be forced to speak on the record. What started as quiet heartbreak behind closed doors could explode into a public reckoning the entire world watches in real time. For now, all anyone can do is watch as Snoop Dogg's life balances between holding an empire together and having everything exposed piece by piece. The same man who built his brand on authenticity, growth, and keeping it real is now standing at a crossroads where the truth may finally have to come out, no matter how uncomfortable it is. And one thing is certain, this won't play out quietly. Every move he makes, every appearance, every court filing will be dissected by millions. Because when a West Coast legend feels his crown slipping inside his own home, the shockwaves travel far beyond his inner circle. This isn't just about marriage, money, or fame anymore. It's about legacy. So here's the real question. When the full truth finally surfaces, does Snoop Dogg rise again as the Survivor fans believe him to be? Or does he become another cautionary tale in an industry built on smoke, mirrors, and perfectly crafted images? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know where you think this story is headed. If this breakdown hit, make sure you like the video, share it with someone who's been following the drama, and subscribe to Celebrial for more deep dives like this. We're just getting started, and this story is far from over. See you in the next one.